You've probably seen the headlines about the recent tragedy in Delhi. So much noise, so much grief, and a young life gone. But we need to look past the headlines, because buried in this tragedy is a critical lesson for every single one of us who gets behind the wheel. So let's break this down, not as a news story, but as a real explainer on how to survive on the road.
It's just heartbreaking when you boil it down. One single accident, one life lost. And what we're going to see is that there were at least 5 missing keys, 5 principles of defensive driving that, if just one of them had been used by either driver, this whole thing might have had a different ending. This isn't about pointing fingers. It's about preventing the next one.
So, to really get a handle on how to stop this from happening again, we've got to understand exactly how it happened in the first place. Let's walk through those last few critical moments before the impact.
Okay, so look at this. The risk factors here they pile up one after another. First, you've got a minor behind the wheel, no license. Then, get this, the speed is around 80 kilometers an hour in what's probably a 40 zone, so double the limit. On top of that, he's crossing a solid white line, a huge no-no. But the real kicker, that oncoming bus, it's a giant moving wall, creating a massive blind spot.
All right, so here's how it all went down second by second. The Scorpio is flying down the middle of the road. Why? To get around some parked cars, but now there's a bus coming straight at him, so he has to swerve back hard into his lane. And at that exact terrible moment, a motorcycle pops out from behind that bus. Boom. No time, no space. It was, tragically, the perfect storm for a head-on collision.
So the big question, right? Could this have been prevented? The answer is yes, absolutely. We're going to break this down using some key ideas from the Smith system, which is a world-class defensive driving program, to see how different choices could have saved a life.
We're going to zoom in on a few of the most critical keys here, starting with a big one. Key 2, get the big picture. Now, this isn't just about staring through your windshield. It's about having like 360-degree awareness. It's actively scanning and really understanding everything that's happening around you. And this is a perfect example of what was missed. A driver who's getting the big picture sees that solid white line and knows it means do not cross, period. They see the parked cars and think, okay, my road space is shrinking. But most importantly, they see that bus not as just a bus, but as a giant moving curtain. You have to assume danger is hiding behind it.
Now for what I think is maybe the biggest single failure in this entire incident. Key 4, leave yourself an out. This principle is non-negotiable. It means you always have a plan B, an escape route, a safety bubble of space around your car that you can use when things suddenly go wrong.
By driving at nearly double the speed limit, the driver completely erased his out. He had no escape plan. You have to understand, on the road, space is your best friend. It's your buffer against disaster. And excessive speed, it's the thief that steals that space away. In that final second, there was no room to brake, no room to swerve, zero room for error. You know, there's a great way to think about this. Driving way too fast is literally like trying to thread a needle while you're sprinting. You just can't do it. It's not just about slamming on the brakes in time. It's about being able to make those tiny little steering corrections that keep you out of trouble. And at 80 kilometers an hour in that situation, forget about it. You've lost all that fine control. And that brings us to the last key we'll cover today, and it's a huge one. Key 5, make sure they see you. See, safe driving isn't just a passive thing where you react to stuff. It's proactive. It's about communicating with everyone else on the road, making sure they know you're there and what you're planning to do. So let's apply that directly to this situation. That bus created a massive danger zone. A defensive driver in the car, seeing that bus and that blind spot, would flash their headlights. It's a simple signal. Hey, I'm here. A defensive rider, before even thinking of pulling out from behind the bus, would give a quick tap of the horn, a little beep beep to announce their presence. In this case, neither happened. It was like 2 invisible vehicles on a collision course. Okay, let's just zoom out from the crash itself for a minute and talk about the aftermath. Because the mistakes that are made in a split second, well, they create consequences that last forever. And just look at this contrast. It's brutal. On one side, you have these fleeting, reckless moments, driving without a license, going way too fast, maybe the distraction of trying to make a cool social media video, a terrible overtake. And on the other side, the consequences are permanent. A life is lost. The driver's own father is facing legal charges. Survivors are traumatized for life, and a family is just shattered. There's no going back. And here is something every single parent, every car owner needs to hear loud and clear.
Your accountability doesn't stop when you hand over the keys. The law is very clear on this. The fact that the minor's father was named as an accused, that's a massive wake-up call. Your car, your responsibility, period. So after all this, what do we do? How do we turn this tragedy into something that can actually keep us and the people we love safe? Let's talk about some real, actionable lessons.
Okay, for all my two-wheeler riders watching, please listen up. This is your survival guide. That solid white line, treat it like a brick wall. Do not cross it to overtake. Always ride as if you're invisible, because honestly, to a lot of cars, you are. Especially around big things like buses. Peek, look, listen, clear that blind spot before you move. And wear a helmet. The report said the fatal injuries were to the head. Ultimately, your life is in your hands. Defensive riding isn't optional. It's how you get home safe.
And to every parent out there, I have to ask this, and it's a tough question. When we hand over the keys to a young, untrained, unlicensed person, are we handing them the keys to a car, or are we handing them a weapon? The responsibility starts in our homes, long before the ignition ever gets turned on. A tragedy like this cannot just be another headline we scroll past. It has to be a lesson. If this explainer made you think differently about your own driving or how you'll talk to your kids about driving, then please, I encourage you to explore more at drivesafenow.in and subscribe to the Drive Safe Now YouTube channel. Our whole mission is to take these hard lessons and turn them into life-saving habits, especially for young drivers in India. Thank you for watching, and please, drive safe out there.